Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back as Spurs draw 1-1 in obviously the first leg of two of this Europa League quarter-final tie against Eintracht Frankfurt, where look, on another day, in another game, it could have been a much, much more comfortable win, you could argue, given the amount
Someone check the Ravens. Someone check the Ravens at the Tower of London. Ricky Sachs is on time, everybody. On time. Carry on.
Doesn't happen often. Some things, there you go. They listen, it can happen. If you're also the very, very first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky too. Look, I'm joined by a regular returning top-tier panel that are going to guide and steer you through what they made of that opening leg against Eintracht Frankfurt and why we are still alive in this competition going into the second. Before we get into the boys and their thoughts on the game, it did finish in the end. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 1. It means for Tottenham, they stay unbeaten in the Europa League this season. But it's a tough one to take, you'd argue, because you feel Spurs should have been going away with, you've got to say, a win. You know, I think for Frankfurt, it actually is now 2 wins in their last 8 matches, despite them sitting in a decent place domestically wise in their table. Isn't it so typical? Santos, the Frankfurt backup goalkeeper, made 3 absolute outstanding stops. We also hit the bar twice on the night. And there'll be a feeling that many will have been disappointed to draw that. I thought we did enough in the second half to win it. And I feel Spurs, you'd argue, may have to go up another level if they are to get through this competition in terms of the next round, particularly with that atmosphere Frankfurt fans will generate at their home in 7 days' time. And we know we've put ourselves in a position where now we're going to have to go and win it. It finished Tottenham 1, Frankfurt 1. Those match facts and stats for you. 10 shots for Spurs to Frankfurt's 4. 6 registered on target for Tottenham to Frankfurt's 2. 32 touches in Frankfurt's box in comparison to the 13 in Tottenham's. We made 11 interceptions to Frankfurt's 9. Frankfurt edging the recoveries 47-44. Clearances wise, Spurs edging at 19-18. Tottenham dominating the corner count 9-3. Also dominating the possession 57% to 43%. And Tottenham's XG accumulated 1.31 to 0.45. Cracks, let me open with you. Missed opportunity, but probably if we're going to be if we're going to be honest, I think that's probably one of Spurs' best displays that we've seen in recent times. We had the likes of Bergvall, Bentancur hitting the bar, while Sonny, Maddison, Van der Ven all denied by the keeper in that second half. It does for you to argue going into this second leg, we may need a Etihad type or Ajax type display to see us through. What did you make of that opening leg?
Evening, everybody, or good morning if you're listening on your commute. The TJ and Marlon and you, Ricky, and everybody in the comments and in listener land, as Rodney Marsh used to say on TalkSport. As you can see from my little sub header there, for those of you listening in black and white on the podcast without the visuals, football is a cruel game, spelt the same as Tim Krul, because that's what it felt like tonight, wasn't it? He came in and had an absolute stormer. Got no real complaints tonight, Rick. It was just one of them games on another night. 2 or 3 of those drop in. We go away with a 3-1, even a 4-1 win, and then that's job done. And you know, the others in the other game, Lazio versus a character from the Lord of the Rings, of Bodo Glint or something they're called, isn't they? I mean, they're 2-0 up. So you think to yourself, okay, up to the Arctic Circle, N17, bit of chicken, and we're all off to Bilbao, aren't we? It's really fine margins. I mean, you look at the other results from this tonight. Man U got a Desmond's. Rangers was 0-0. All very, very tight games. You get to this business end of this competition, there's some decent sides in there. But tonight for us, first half, we just didn't really get out the traps and paid for it. But second half, we really, really took it to them. And I do wonder, Rick, perversely, maybe, just maybe, that will suit us, because if we went there 2 or 3-1 up, would we start sitting back trying to defend it? That's something that we just cannot do. Now we've got to go there. Now we've got to give the performance of the season. We really have to go there. Tottenham, just go there with a bit of belief. Don't shit yourself. Go. It's going to be a cauldron. There's 58,000 in there, and they are absolutely, they're fanatical. They are fanatical. It's going to be a very, very tough night. But you want to make omelets, you got to break eggs. You're going to have to go there, and you're going to have to really be compact, be solid, see what we can't get on the break. But, you know, when we do get on the break, if we can get the ball flowing, then we've got a chance. But be prepared next week, Rick, because I think this could end up the breakfast show in Australia, because you could definitely see extra time, even pens in that game. It will be a tight one. But tonight, no complaints at all. There were some real standout performances as well. Bentancur was excellent. Udoji was excellent second half, and Bergwijn to give it a Sun punny headline. He was sensational tonight. You know, 18, 19 years old. They were talking on TNT Sport about what he's going to be like at 24 years old. I'm sure Real Madrid will be in for a treat when he's 24 years old. And Daniel Levy walks off with his big bag of £150 million and tells us there's no money to spend. But, you know, that's 6 years' time.
Yeah. I mean, joking, the week we've had, it feels like Real Madrid for all of our players at the moment. You've had Saar being in there, you've had Romero being in there, you've had Mickey van der Ven's agent coming out, and Coercy is funny with Real Madrid. They seem to have, since that defeat, so we don't want to go into it, they seem to have contacted every player to find out their availability in this last week. Everyone seems to have been contacted. On another note, let's go back to the game. Miles, coming over to you. And look, I think I agree with Crackers. It was a very decent performance, but I do have that feeling that in the big European games, you have to take your chances. And I think it will be a very tough match over in Germany. It's not impossible. Look, we had enough chance in that second half to bury the game and possibly the tie. I thought the officiating on the night, I'm not one to complain about referees. I sound like Ange now. I'm not one to complain about referees, but I thought the referee had a really, really poor game. I've got to be honest with you. I do worry, like I say, we had those 4 chances in a 4-minute spell in the second half where we were really unlucky to score. But I think we've got a tough job on our hands and the second leg, and it feels that they were there for the taking, and that's why I'll be honest with you, Miles, gutted to not be ahead in the tie. I mean, what's your reflections on that result?
Yeah, look, I was thinking about how I'd come on here and approach it all, but actually, when I look at the bigger picture, it was a decent performance, and I haven't really got much to complain about apart from the goal they scored, which I felt like we could have defended it slightly better. However, we've probably been conceding goals again like that for the whole season, where we've allowed them through the middle, and you do have Bergwijn and Bentancur who's got to make that decision whether to come across. But apart from that, everything else just went to plan. And when their goalkeeper's probably going to come out of this with man of the match, it's just one of them things. And I think for us now, for the rest of the season, as long as the players believe, Frankfurt have to come out at us next week. And Ange did kind of say in his presser that he did kind of expect Frankfurt to sit off, but not as much as they did. So for us to even kind of get a 1-1 draw, we have scored, we have kept ourselves in it. You know, these fixtures can throw up anything in the second leg, and that's the key thing. As long as the players believe, it doesn't even matter about us. As long as they believe and they go out there next week and think, you know what, let's not let the Frankfurt supporters get to us. Let's go out there and do a performance. Look, we drew 0-0 under Conte there. So why can't we perform something quite similar and catch them on the break? Because they are going to have to attack us. And that's going to be the slight difference going into next week. So we might actually be able to see players like Brennan Johnson and Sonny actually be more in the game and catch them with their pace. But look, it's one of them performances I've been dying to see for weeks, months. Finally got to see it. So I'm not going to sit here and bemoan it, because the one thing that let us down tonight was the one thing we've been quite good at this season, and that is scoring goals. We just didn't have, again, I'm just going to reiterate, their goalkeeper had a stormer. Their second choice keeper, by the way, not their first choice, their second choice keeper had a stormer.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so we just have to look at it like that. And he's, there's going to be a lot of teams looking at this goal. He's been playing good for weeks now since he's come in for Kevin Trapp. He's been playing well for weeks, and he will be somewhere big in years to come, and we'll go. You're the goalkeeper that cost us, but he'll probably be at a big club. That's how good he can become. Because what I saw tonight from him was actually, it's going to be hard for Trapp to even come back in. And that's not just going by this game. This has just been going by what we've seen of Frankfurt in the last few weeks. But look, for everyone else, I thought a lot of players did step up tonight. They did they did put a performance out there. And I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to sit there and complain. I'm going to say, well done. But keep it going for that second leg, because it's going to be so important.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know we've got a long way to go in the tie. And I mean, T, to bring you in, I thought we did play pretty well, as I've mentioned. I think the subs, you could have argued, if you want to be really critical, I think the subs could have been made earlier. I wasn't overly impressed by Frankfurt as a team, but, suspect over there might be a different story because of what, as Crackers has said, going over to German territory, the fans, I think it's going to be it's going to be a cauldron over there. Let's be honest, it is going to be a massive cauldron over there. And I think, when you look at the chances that we had, I mentioned kind of 4 in the space of 4 minutes in the second half, you just feel that you maybe would have wanted one of those to go in to take some kind of advantage over there. I mean, how did you see the game for you, Teach?
I mean, listen, you want them all to go in.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course.
I'd be delighted to swan over to Frankfurt with 7 goals to the good. It just wasn't to be. To the gentleman's points that they've already made so eloquently at the beginning of this program, I was delighted to see a spirited performance. Dare I say, potentially an inspiring performance. We've been lacking any kind of heart or belief for so long. We were all discussing, gang viewers and listeners, before we came on air. We've all waxed lyrical numerous times about the minute margins in the upper echelons of sports, and of course football, arguably the most fiercely competitive sport in the world, because every country plays it, and so those little margins, that little bit of that spark of belief that might give you another 1 or 2% was the difference tonight. And so I was really pleased, not just for us, for us fans who've had such a torrid time this season and had to cope with unprecedented levels of disappointment. Jokes aside, even for quote unquote Tottenham fans, right? It was terribly, terribly difficult for us all this season. And so to see the boys give it some gusto on the pitch and actually play some really quite beautiful football at times, I was delighted for everybody in the stadium. 2 of my bestest, oldest friends were in the stadium tonight. The atmosphere sounded incredible. It was loud and rambunctious, and that was wonderful to see. I'm also happy for the boys themselves. I know football is their profession, but at some point they loved this sport, right? So they looked like they played with a little joy tonight, which I was really pleased to see. Of course, we were unfortunate not to get the win, but to Cracker's point, I feel the same as you, Cracks. Not that I'd rather go over there at 1-1, but I wouldn't feel any more confident going at 1-1 than I would at 2-1, potentially even at 3-1, because we do play better when we're under the cosh. And they are a good side. They're 3rd in the Bundesliga. And I was saying to the chaps again before the show, they've got the best defensive record in the entire league. And you can see that. They're very well drilled. To Marlon's point, that young chap in goal, 21 years old, that young man. Fair play to the boy, 21 years old, and put on a towering performance in both senses of the word. And that back line is very well marshalled under the tutelage and guidance of the superbly named Robin Koch. Lovely to be back on the show. More to come, ladies and gents.
Yeah, I mean, like Cracker said about 6 months ago, a lot of these players are working their cocks off. Maybe that's why we fell off the form, because they were working their cock off so much. They all end up losing them. Cracks, I mean, the big question will be, do you see enough in this team, second leg, to go there and put performance in? Because you just said, I think your opening line was, as long as Tottenham don't shit themselves. I mean, it's fair to say we have shit ourselves a couple of times, not just the fans, but the players this season. We think about the likes of Anfield, Villa Park. You think in a cup game where a one-off night, we've seen a performance like that, can they go and replicate that in the second leg? Because I think there's no doubt about it. I've seen enough in terms of, if you look at the two teams, you also I think Kulusevski maybe touch and go, Anne just said, for the second leg. I think when you look at the two teams in terms of quality on the pitch, I think Tottenham do edge them, despite the fact, the goal they took was ever so well taken.
Mm.
But over the course of what we've got quality-wise with the teams, you would expect Spurs to be the better side. But we do know when it's, away from home, as you mentioned, that atmosphere the Frankfurt fans will produce, this is going to take some kind of performance to get Tottenham over the line that second leg, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. It's a case of going now and then trying to silence the crowd, or you've just got to learn to filter it out and just concentrate on what your role is. But look, tonight, if that was a boxing match, we'd have had our arms lifted at the end of it. So we've proved that we can do that and that give that sort of performance. We proved it tonight. That performance again keeps us in the tie, and then it comes down to moments, Rick. It really does, and it will come down to moments, and those are things that you can't really coach or train for or anything. It literally, in cup competitions especially, sometimes just moments are the making of you or the killing of you. So there'll be moments next week. Are those moments for us, or are they for them? And that won't be on Ange, that won't be on the players, that would just be on ye gods, won't it? It would just be what comes from it. As long as we go there and give the similar sort of performance that we did tonight. As you say, Kulu being back, if he's back, as long as he is fit, I don't want him to be thrown in now, and he's not really feeling it. If he's 80% or something, then maybe you try and bring him on for the last 20 minutes or so, if you need to. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough, but it always was going to be in the quarterfinals of a European Cup. It's just that's just the nature of the beast. So can we be solid? Can we find those moments? Can we be smart? Can we not give the ball away as much as we did tonight? We're really sloppy in certain, especially the first half. Yeah. Really sloppy, and as much as we give Ange a bit of a kicking on here generally for this, that, and everything else, moments like that with sloppiness, that's on the players. It's just be that little bit brighter, that little bit smarter. I mean, even that goal that we gave away at the start, Maddison's got to be stronger in that moment. He has to be stronger. And all of a sudden, because of the high line that we play, we're undone. And, the lad that took the goal, fantastic player, took it brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. But, Maddison's got to be more careful with the ball in those moments. We've, again, like a lot of the goals where we've been picked off with overloads at the back post, how many times have we had turnovers in midfield because we've just not been strong enough, and then that 30-yard diagonal ball, bang, that's two of our weaknesses. So we've just got to go there and make sure we don't give them any of those moments, and then see where that takes us.
Yeah, I do agree on that point. I mean, it's funny. I know the general consensus around the manager at the moment, but Miles, to bring you in, it's quite ironic that, when you're looking at the fact that we miss really, 4 or 5 gilt edge opportunities in the second half, there's certain things you can level on a manager. But I think Crackers makes a point there that the players do, throughout the course of a season, when things aren't going right, seem to do sometimes escape that form of criticism. I mean, again, we've had the opportunity in that game to put it to bed to some degree. As a manager, he must be pulling his hair out, right? Because the players have had the opportunity on the field to take control of the tie.
Yeah, no, you could see it as well. Because I watched his interview, and you could kind of see in his voice that he was like, you know what, this club must be cursed because everything, even when it's going well, it still has an issue, and that's the thing. He must have seen that performance, and he must have gone on another day. All of those chances go in. every single one of them go in, but you get them throughout the season, and especially at Tottenham. And I think Crackers makes a great point. We'll always remember Tim Krul with those 9 or how many saves he made in one game, and we tend to get them every year. And it seems to be tonight. It happened against Frankfurt, but look, for Ange right now, he's just got to take this game and go, actually, they can play for me, and he can take these tactics into next week, going, okay, they're going to come out at us. How do we stop it? How do we stop that first goal from going in? And I think that's what he just needs to. That's what I need to see over this weekend and over the next couple of games. Just that everyone running through our midfield, and as long as that doesn't happen, we'll be all right. And that's the thing, and that's how I'm looking at it. We haven't, apart from really Galatasaray away, where he went young and he shouldn't have done. The away games we've had in Europe this year, even when we haven't played well, we've still managed to get a result.
We have,
and that's what I'm holding on to. And even when you look at the Alkmaar away game, I know we lost 1-0, but it was to an own goal. So I'm looking at it going, it's very hard to look. I'm not going to sit here and criticize anything that's been done tonight, because I actually thought it was one of those. I actually watched the game. I actually didn't feel like something else was distracting me. It was completely a different contrast to what was happening over the last few weeks.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm not sitting here gutted, but I'm just sitting here disappointed that we haven't got the victory, because I thought they deserved to actually get something. And the fact it's gone in 1-1 might actually do us a favour, because actually we don't have something to protect. And we've actually got to go out there and actually play our football. And as long as they don't let the atmosphere get to them, they can do it. We've always said they can do it. It's down to them to believe. And they've shown us tonight that actually they can turn up and they can play. Because apart from a few performances where I think we'd criticise, everyone else turned up tonight. I'm not going to sit there and say no one didn't turn up. I know people had their issues with Son, but I thought he played okay-ish. When in this system, that is what you're going to get out of Son. He had, there was a great save the keeper made off a Son shot. Look, Brendan Johnson, if he's not scoring, is not doing anything. So we knew this from day dot. And again, he has one chance at the end bit where we're going, typical Brendan Johnson, he's going to put this in the net, and if it goes over. So it's not like we didn't create chances tonight, and that's the other thing. We kept going, we kept going. Yep. We'll just have to see how your doggy's going for next week. So I know a lot of people were disappointed that Spence didn't start, but actually your doggy played really well. And it reminded me of those first 10 games with him and Porro at fullback, where they were bombing forward, they were overlapping. So I'm looking at it going, well, you know what? You've shown me something tonight. Please don't disappoint me. Please don't disappoint me.
No, you're right. Because they're giving us something there. I mean, certain players, again, when you look at the fact, I think a doggy, like you said there, Marlon, there was maybe question marks as to his inclusion over Jed Spence. That I felt many would have been the guy I think many were expecting to be fielded, Jed Spence. He's had a formidable run in the team recently, and I think the fact that obviously a doggy's come in, he's played ever so well, and just can't confirm. Postecoglou said after the game that he was just dealing with cramp when he came off. That's all it was. Nothing more sinister than that. I appreciate that we've said many times this season players are dealing with certain things, and then the next day it turns out to be slightly worse than that. But at the moment, Ange has confirmed it was only cramp with a doggy. But I think just to bring in what you've said there, Tej, Bentancur, Bergvall, they played also well. I think Bergvall is becoming that player, as Crackers saying, that, week upon week, this crit is growing. I've got no doubts that those reports are probably true, that Spurs do want to offer him a contract of a more higher sustainable level, because I'm sure these performances are being looked at around the world, and he's a very, very talented boy. So you hope they'll obviously even more so lock him down, whether it's about, wages or whether it's about a longer term length of contract, keep the boy happy because he's a superstar. And Bentancur, I think, again, a player that's really fitted in and out this season, Tej. But again, we know his quality. We've seen it when he first came in under Conte, that there's some players here, right? And I think the good thing is that we can see there's still some players in there that are still got these performances in them. We just need them to carry on showing us these in, of course, this competition.
Yes, indeed. And you said at the top of the show, Ricky, that, Real Madrid are sniffing around several of our players, and they're not a bad outfit, are they? And so I think that we can take...
apart from Tuesday night. We won't go there. Or Wednesday night.
Very much, no, exactly. Just what's happening right now. Don't, for goodness sake, don't look back on this season. And so I think, again, positively, right? So it can kind of illustrate to us and to the coaches and the manager, you know, whether you love him or whether you hate him, and to the squad, whether you love them and whether you hate them, we all sort of proved to each other tonight actually a pretty good team and can actually play some really lovely football. We're very consistent with it, and it's not necessarily the most durable standard of football, because it tends to fall apart far too often. But as far as Bergvall goes, and let's come to him in a second. So yeah, I thought Udogie had a terrific game tonight. It was really solid. He looked confident as well, taking on his man. He did it several times, and for my money, achieved that goal more often than he failed. But again, like from these wide players, we talked about this before, at least have a go. And then to Johnson, I mean, like, no, Johnson, he is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? But he almost receives, in, for my money, an unprecedented level of hatred. And a lot of it seems personal to me. So I can't get my head around that. You know, still a Tottenham Hotspur player and a young man. And, you know, he seems like a nice young kid. And it wasn't his fault that he came with such a lofty price tag. It's not his fault. And, you know, he scores a lot of goals, right? So it was unfortunate that he put that one over the bar tonight. It's not easy to score those, you know, when you're whipping across a wet surface and you've got to hit it first time with your weak foot, and probably you've got to go top bins, really, especially if you're going to beat that goalkeeper tonight. You had to go top bins, and he got it wrong. But what he did do, especially in the second half, he's worked his arse off to get back in cover, because that left back, I can't remember his name, who also had an excellent game, the lad with the long hair, who played left back for Frankfurt. I thought he was a terrific player. Thank you. Yeah, cheers, Cracks. What a great player, and was marauding forward and causing us all sorts of problems. And they were getting an overload on Porro far too often. So he worked really hard off the ball. And okay, that's not the sort of sexiest stat, but it's important, guys. You know, again, if you play the game, and especially in the second half when people are tired and all that kind of thing, if there's a big gap, go and plug it. Great, you know, he did well. To Bentancur, mate. So yeah, man, you and I, Rick, have talked about Bentancur numerous times. Big fan of his. He's a very technical player. I also like the fact that he's put on an enormous amount of bulk. Like if you look at when he first arrived at Tottenham and look at him now, and, you know, ignore the beard, he's put on, I'd say he's put on at least 15 or 20 pounds in American speak, which is, you know, going to be kind of 8 to kind of 10 kilos in European speak. All muscle, and that's really important. I think why he shined quite so much tonight is because Bergvall played out of his skin, and all that creative energy and all that guile, and he has this rapier-like ability to pierce not only a number 6, but also pierce a back 4, and he had them quaking in their boots. And so it just kind of said to Bentancur, you can be the muscle in this team. If there's a loose ball, go and get it. The amount of times that Romero stepped up, you know how he does, right? He'll step up beyond the halfway line sometimes. And Bentancur was like, off you go, mate, and I'll fill in for you. Romero would lose the ball and Bentancur would go and get it again. So it was a really good performance tonight, gang. It just was. And Frankfurt, it's all to play for, whether we're 1-0 down, 1-1, 2-1 up, even 3-1 up. Nothing is guaranteed. We have a fight on our hands. I'm really looking forward to going over there at an even keel. For me, actually, of course, you want to go with a couple of goals, but I'm happy to go over there with it all to do, because they will be under pressure to win at home. We have, dare I say, a spirit of the dam busters attitude that can take us over to Germany. There's a historical reference for anyone who wants to hear it.
Well, I mean, look, I do agree on that, Tej. I mean, it'll be to see how we do approach it. And just said after the game, look, he's a little bit frustrated by the result, because I thought the performance in general was really good from the boys. We conceded early, which was not ideal. It was a fair strike by the lad, but I thought our response was really good. We stayed in control. We scored a good equaliser. We made them work hard in the first half. So we knew in the second half, with our ability to break teams open, we had the opportunity to put them under pressure. And that's exactly what happened. And the boys did exactly everything I asked them to do. I couldn't have asked anything more from the lad. We hit the crossbar 3 times. The keeper had made some amazing saves. We had a couple of other good opportunities. On any other night, we would have had a comfortable victory. If we can perform like that over there, and there is no reason why we can't, we still give ourselves a good opportunity to go through. He was asked about having the options from the bench. He said, look, I think the guys that came on made a difference and injected some energy into the team. It could be tight next week. It could go, as Crackers actually said, into extra time, and we're going to need to get everybody ready to go. And the beauty of the moment is that we have a squad ready to go, and that'll be the most important thing. He was asked to comment on the cramp that Destiny Udogie picked up towards the end of that game, which threw him substituted, and said he was unbelievable. I thought he was an incredible in terms of the running that he offered us and his effectiveness in the game. He was just cramping up. I'm sure, though, he will be fine. He was asked about Lucas Bergval's performance, where he said, look, he was great, but the whole team was. I thought Rodri was outstanding. Both the fullbacks defensively and with the ball were causing many, many problems. You had Cutie and Mickey handling their front threats really, really well, apart from the goal we conceded. And the front three working with Madders were really creative. I just can't ask anything more from the lads than what they put out there for me. Ad was also asked about the finish from Pedro Porro bearing in mind that he was in the right back position. He said, look, that's something that we have been working on, getting into those areas in the box in terms of the half spaces. Madders knows well what we are looking to create in those kind of areas. Don was the one who received it. There was a gap towards the near post. We've always said that we need the next person in line to attack that area, and that's exactly what Pedro did for the goal, and it was a great, great finish from him. And was asked about attacking and taking the game to Frankfurt in the second leg, and he re-emphasised the point that, look, if we can repeat that next week, there's no reason why we can't. We'll give ourselves a great opportunity. I felt like we were really organised as a team, and we really overwhelmed them at times of our football with our running and our press. It wasn't just the chances that we created, but the chances that we almost created as well. It's going to be that sort of game, and it's also been that kind of season for us. Nothing is going to come easy to us. We're going to have to go out there and fight and now get to what I think we've deserved and try and get over the line. He was questioned in terms of the subs and why he waited so long to make them. He said, look, I thought we were in control, well on top and were creating chances. It was at the back in my mind that I was concerned about the left-hand side. I knew the boys had worked hard, and that's why the likes of Matisse, Jed and Pap coming on, I thought they could really offer us something later into that game. And, you know, again, we have to remind ourselves, that was obviously Richarlison's first game back in a Spurs shirt since the Liverpool defeat in the Carabao Cup. And Ange was asked to comment on Richarlison being back in the team, in which Ange said, look, I think with Richie and a couple of the others, we've obviously got a game at the weekend. Richie and a number of those will get some minutes. Next week, you don't know. It's a game that could head into extra time, so we need to have all bodies available. And he was asked if he feels the footballing gods are against him from that Mickey van der Ven very last-minute header that was tipped over onto the crossbar. And he said, look, I'm resigned to the fact that the football gods have got their eyes elsewhere this year. Obviously, busy with other clubs and other managers. So whatever we get, we're going to have to do it without them this year. Certainly a more cracks, upbeat Ange Postecoglou in this presser when you reflect his mood going into it, where, I mean, he was quite down in the dumps, wasn't he, ahead of the game? I mean, it does feel that maybe that performance has given him a bit more of an injection of life. But I know you said earlier for you, maybe you feel that the players are well aware of just how important this is for them personally. What's your take on that for you? I mean, you know, second leg coming up, is this as much about the players, as much about Ange motivating them, or is it a bit of both in your opinion?
Well, I mean, after Ange had his teenage strop in the week and said, everybody hates me, I'm off to my bedroom to listen to Taylor Swift for the rest of the day. It just felt a little bit sort of downbeat coming into what we were coming into. Us, Ange, anybody shouldn't have to motivate players going in to the second leg of a quarter final in the UEFA Cup. I still like to call it the UEFA Cup. I can't get used to this Europa League and everything else. It's the UEFA Cup. It's so self-motivate. Surely you can self-motivate, and I'm sure they will. So yeah, it's if we, as I said before, just do what we done tonight, and we've got a fighting, swinging chance. The way we set up as well, where we just sort of screened the back four a little bit so Porro could get forward, that worked. Bergval, a few people have said in the comments, maybe push him up into the 10 role because he's certainly got it in his locker. I mean, the lad's got a bit of everything, hasn't he? He gets back and he works, and he's an old head on young shoulders. He's got a little bit of the gazzers about him when he drops a shoulder as well. So he just does everything really well. we'd certainly give them something to think about if we pushed him up into that 10 role. Definitely. So yeah, it's if you can't motivate yourself for this second leg and get up for it, then might as well just pack up and go home, mightn't we? I mean, the weekend's done already, isn't it? I think apparently I've got a flight tomorrow over and bring me boots because I think I'm on the bench. I mean, just rest everybody. It's gone, isn't it? Wolves must be licking their lips, but they're safe, so. I mean, that's going to be a flip-flops on game, isn't it, on Saturday? And it's just going to really drift by. And it all goes to next Thursday.
When has it not been flip-flops on this season? It feels like
it's looked like concrete boots on some of the time for some of the players, hasn't it? And some of them need a concrete overcoat as well, the way they perform.
What makes me laugh is the fans can't wait to get their flip-flops on for their summer holiday when the players have been on it for most of the bloody season.
Oh man, yeah, everything now, the whole season is this, isn't it? It all hinges now on this. So yeah, exactly. Play the legends. I mean, Clive Allen would turn out when he for 20 minutes. We'll give him.
Cracks, you've got most of their numbers. Go and get on the phone to Sebastian Basson. Get him out there again.
Probably the only one whose number I haven't got, actually. I must update the phone book for that.
We'll dig it out for you.
Let's go back further. We'll have Pat in goal. We'll get Pat Jennings in goal. But we'll get Terry Naylor as well at left back.
My only concern is, Cracks, you put him in a team. We might want to keep him for Thursday. Don't get too carried away.
No, come on. We got to be motivated. And I'm still seeing a little bit of like, what have you seen tonight? We're gonna go there and get smashed. And look, it's been a tough old season. It really has. And I get the downbeat mood, but sometimes in life you just have to park that and go, okay, let's ring fence this and not give Ange a kick in and, just leave a spark aside for like one game, everything else going on, and just get behind the boys and have a little bit of belief. And if we go with some belief and we're a little bit more positive, like Ange just called for, then maybe, just maybe, that rubs off and, they see a little bit of positivity on social media. And I don't know, it may just get us over the line. So for me, with everything else that's going on, I'm just ring fencing this at the moment, Rick, and just being positive around it. And then we'll worry about what's wrong at another time. So, let's get up behind them and see where that takes us next week.
Yeah, I think we've got 6-7 days now to go in terms of the biggest week of the season. Do you think, Miles, in these next 6 days to come, that fans will now kind of put aside their differences and get behind the team in what is a big week for the football club? Because I just wonder, the Wolves game coming up, with all due respect, as Crackers has said there, look, we've got a bigger and obviously a bigger task ahead of us next week. I mean, it's kind of meaningless to some degree, that Wolves game. I know people don't want to hear that because it'll be, again, 3,500, 4,000 away Spurs fans that will travel to Wolves. They'll want to win. But there's no doubt about it that I think everyone's priorities know it's this time next week.
Yeah, but you still got to go into that Wolves game and produce some sort of performance, because if you look at the first 5 minutes today, it looked like we had Southampton hangover a little bit. And that's where, when Crackers was saying that, the passes were misplaced and everything like that, it's because they didn't have that momentum going into this game. So I looked at it and went, you know what? The first goal went in and it just seemed to settle them. It just seemed to settle the players, because I thought, Maddison started to get on the ball and everything like that. But over the next week, they're gonna have to pick themselves up. They can't treat the Wolves game any different. They're gonna have to somehow put in a performance and make sure that Wolves don't end up 2 points behind us. That's one key thing. And then hopefully we can take that momentum into next Thursday. And I think if we can't go into that Wolves game going, it's meaningless, and I know it doesn't mean much, but if we come out of that and we kind of get defeated and it's another loss, then that's what we're going into the Frankfurt game with, and kind of you don't want to go in with that mindset. And probably that's why we've seen a better performance tonight from the boys, because yes, we beat Southampton, but they've got that winning mentality back in their head. And this is the thing going forward. And just one quick thing, and I know a lot of people disagree with it, but for the first time I agreed with this, and I know you didn't agree with it. I thought he was absolutely spot on when he made the subs. And a lot of people won't understand timing wise. And the reason why is because when he usually makes the subs is when we were on top. Now, the subs that he ended up making, I was a bit confused. But if he had taken off Son and Maddison before that moment, everyone would have been like, what are you doing? And it kind of, everyone was having such an influence on the game. The only person I would have probably said, you know what, you could take off now would have been Brennan Johnson. He was probably the only one person who wasn't making a massive impact. And he was probably the person I would have taken off instead of Son. I'd have let Patel on the right. And then I would have probably taken off Solanke as well. They were probably the only two players tonight that you could have taken off early and it would have made no difference. Because I think Richarlison and Tell would have probably made a bit of a difference if that's come on. Because apparently Wilson Odebear is carrying something. So that's why he probably hasn't come on tonight. And then what you could have done later on, when you got to the 80th minute, when you did bring on the subs, was bring on Mikey Moore for Son. That's probably where my head would have gone at if he was doing it. But I do get his understanding when he said we were controlling it at that point of when, Ange makes his subs at that precise moment. And if he had made it, I think the momentum would have just shifted back a little bit and probably might have gone back in Frankfurt's favour. And we were so much on top. And the reason why we're sitting here saying we played well is because the players on the pitch were producing the goods at the right time. But again, we were stopped by the goalkeeper. And that's the only thing I'll say about the subs. I don't think it has nothing to do with, everyone will say Ange hasn't got a clue, he didn't really know what to do. You kind of saw the game, the way it was panning out, because it would have been between that 60th and 70th minute when you would have probably made them. But we were so, you don't want to break that momentum up sometimes. Yep. And that's probably why he decided to make the subs. It was like around the 79th minute or 78th when he actually went and made it, which some people say was too late. But, it was kind of, did the subs have a massive impact in the game anyway? Probably not to the way they were meant to, because I think once Son and Maddison went off, I think the game just kind of went 50-50 a little bit, and kind of we were attacked, you attack, we attack, you attack. But, some people say he should have done it earlier. This is the first time I've actually agreed with him and gone, that was the right time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, again, the subs did spark a debate. I know certainly online with regards to the timing of them, but it's an interesting one. I understand the point you're making there, Miles. I think there was a point in that game where I think you felt we were on top. Maybe, again, an adjustment to the system a little bit earlier may have changed things. I mean, do you share, Tej, Miles, feelings there with regards to the Wolves game that it may have helped us, beat Southampton to give the boys a little bit of confidence, and therefore if we get beaten by Wolves, does that maybe not set the right tone going into the Frankfurt game? Would you just look at them as completely separate games, and whatever happens, irrespective of Wolves, shouldn't carry through to the second leg against Frankfurt? How do you see that in terms of getting that right with regards to Sunday leaning into Thursday?
I mean, several points in that question. I mean, I think we probably all agree that I don't think any professional sports team should ever go into a game thinking we don't need to win this. You absolutely need to win every single game. And also Tottenham lack killer instinct. And again, we were discussing, sorry to keep saying this, is probably getting a little tedious. You say, well, before the show, so, let me mention it during the show. So as we were chatting before, we've talked about mentality several times. And I was also saying that belief must be more than just a word that people say, oh, we have to believe. You have to show it in your actions and in your body. And, it has to physically manifest itself on the football pitch, or it's only ever so much hot air. And I think that all of us are a bit tired of that. God knows we get not enough hot air and, politics and all sorts of nonsense in our lives. Let's have some clarity and some authenticity in football. And so to be very clear, what that means to lack that killer instinct, again, it's not just to go somewhere and say, I want to win today. To absolutely approach it from the other side of that coin, which is I refuse to be beaten today. I think that's the attitude that Tottenham have lacked for so very long. One of my dearest friends in the world, another London boy, Tottenham boy, he lives 10 minutes from me down the road. And we have dinner with each other every Wednesday. He's a big Tottenham fan, and, I love him dearly. And we often talk about it's not Tottenham, right? It's Manchester United when Gary Neville was playing for Manchester United. And I can't remember the game. It was probably against us. And like, it was like the 94th minute or something. They were like 3-0 up or 4-1 up or something. And the ball went out for a throw in and he raced to go and get that ball and get it back onto the pitch because he really wants to inflict as much damage on the opposition as possible. That's the kind of mentality that I'm talking about. It's not enough to say, I want to win, or we should beat Wolves, or we're Tottenham and they're Wolves and we're better than them. You should go everywhere thinking, I want to put these people to the sword. And so whatever the game, if you are putting on a Tottenham Hotspur jersey, you go there wishing to reap maximum decimation against your opposition. And I want to see that on Sunday against Wolves. And then I want to see that again when we go to Frankfurt next Thursday.
Yeah, fair points. I think, you're right about the mentality. I think that's something we do as a club miss for a very, very long time. So it'll be interesting what Ange does do.
Really need to be killers. I've said this again before on this show. Sorry to interrupt you, brother.
That's fine.
If you look at the greatest athletes of all time, and obviously that's an enormously subjective conversation, right? But if you look at the best of the best at any sport, not every time, but most of the time, these aren't the nicest people in the world. You know what I mean? They're just not. They're not like that. They're not built like you and I. They're just not. It's win above everything else. And I don't want to name names because then it kind of gets a bit personal. But we all know in all sports, think about the greatest that there are, whether it's boxing, whether it's basketball, whether it's golf, whether it's tennis, whether it's football, the very best. And now I've mentioned those sports, we've all got the same people in our minds. These are not nice people. They're killers. And they've got trophy cabinets chock full of silverware and winners' medals. We need a bit more of that at Tottenham Hotspur, please. Sorry to interrupt.
Fair points. No, it's absolutely fair points. Look, we're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners on audio.
Rick, it's time for you to start getting nasty, and then you'll win that Gold Pod award.
No, you stay as you are, Rick.
You're too nice and keep getting silver, Rick.
I'll tell you what. There'll be a lot of people would want me to be a bit more. I'd say be a bit more nicer, be a bit more nastier. I don't know.
Start being a bit of a git. Start getting the golds. Come on.
You behave yourself, crackers.
We're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. If those are missing what Crackers interpreting there, that was Crackers' way of telling me the Jose Mourinho be a bit more of a beep. You got to know where he's going there. Like I say, there's over nearly 10,000 of you watching the show live. Thanks so much, as always, for your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. A reminder, these are the goals, these are. We're delighted, as always, to be sponsored by NordVPN. Nord have always been, they've been our long-term sponsor of Last Word on Spurs. And look, we're going to continue our, of course, European journey, where fingers crossed you're going to need Nord in your lives for that longer period where they can offer you the opportunity, if you're home, if you're away, if you're abroad, wherever you are around the world, to watch your favourite TV shows wherever you are. You can change location settings. It gives you stronger encryption rights and security that can help you protect all of your devices when you're on the go. You can check that out right now by our discount we're offering you. We're offering you 4 extra months for free on a 2-year plan. Just hit up nordvpn.com/LWOS. Right. Look, that was Tottenham's first quarter-final since 2019 and only the second in the last decade. So there was a lot riding on the game, and Ange did have a near-full squad to choose from. Only Kulusevski, Kevin Danso, and long-term Radu Dragusin was absent. Crackers mentioned earlier about Wilson Odobert, the situation around Wilson Odobert, who didn't come off the bench. There has been speculation with relation to the injury that maybe Wilson has suffered. There were reports that he may have been suffering a hamstring injury, with further scans to determine how bad it was. You'd like to think the fact he was on the bench seems to indicate it shouldn't be a terrible injury, but again, didn't come off it, so it's hard to really give any kind of prognosis until we get some further clarification with that on Ange. And again, we know with Tottenham that things can change from one day to the next, so we'd be very careful to put any kind of a time frame on that. Like I say, we'll always encourage you here, guys, if you can, to keep liking, keep subscribing to the show. Share it out to a worldwide Spurs audience. That would be greatly appreciated. And had a number of decisions to make in terms of what he was going to do with the team. I think, particularly before the game, one of the biggest surprises was that Destiny Udogie was starting over Jed Spence in what I think many felt Spence has been probably Spurs' best fullback in general this season. To see him on the bench, I think, was a surprise to many. You had Brennan Johnson starting following his 2 goals against Saints earlier in the week, obviously alongside Dominic Solanke and Heung-Min Son. So the Tottenham team read Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Doggy, Bergvall, Bentancur, Madison, Johnson, Solanke, Son, with the subs of Austin Whiteman, Spence Davis, Gray, Saar, Basuma, Moore, Odebear, Richarlison, Tell. No space in the Tottenham squad for Timo Werner, who looks like that loan's going to come to an end. I know Fabrizio Romano has once again reiterated Tottenham are not looking to sign him for a 3rd time, just so everybody can be relaxed on that point. Feels like a long time I've brought up Timo Werner on this show.
How much is Fabrizio getting? I mean, he's just constantly churning that out, and his agent give you 250 quid a tweet. 250 quid. Come on. 250 quid. Tell him he's available. He's available. He's out there. Honestly. It's madness.
For the 45th time, Timo Werner is not renewing. Anything was surprised with Tottenham. I wouldn't be surprised we get to the summer and we do find out some news. This is what Tottenham is like. I mean, that was quite a big call, Jay. Quite a big call, Cracks, wasn't it? I mean, the fact that we had Destiny Udogie coming in over Jed Spence, who, to be fair, has been a lot of people's first choice fullback of the season. How big a call was that, given the fact that Udogie, I know there's been some criticism of him not reaching the levels of last season, but he played ever so well back in the Spurs show, didn't he, in that game? Probably one of his best of the season. Yeah,
it's a big call, but, big manager on big money has to make big calls. Paid off tonight. He was very, very good tonight. So that worked out for him. Had it have not, he would have been crucified. But that's just the nature of being a manager, isn't it? So he got that. He got that spot on, absolutely spot on. But that's no slight on Spence at all. Andrew's just seen that he thought Udogie would be a better option this evening, and that was proved right. So fantastic call, really. So as I said to you before, Ange gets so much of a kick in, but we try and be a little bit fair and balanced on the show. So when he does get things right, then you have to say, well done to you. And brilliant call. But Udogie came in, took his chance, and really gave them something to think about. So, it just shows you that we've got a little bit of strength in depth in that position now with both Spence and Udogie, depending on the system we play. So, it bodes well. That's what you want, You kind of want 2 players everywhere where you can be a little bit like, oh, blimey, I can't believe he's been dropped. And then somebody comes in and actually tears it up. That's fantastic competition. Exactly what you need in a team.
Yeah, I mean, just on that point, Miles, bringing you over to Doggy, just a bit more detail on him. I think can't argue the fact that, as Cracker said there, he definitely justified his selection. I think on the whole, he defended pretty well. Again, we've heard from Andrew, it should only be cramp. I mean, you'd argue is it because he's got his notifications on from Fabrizio Romano, because he reported this morning that with regards to Udogie, if you saw this news, that apparently Man City have added him to their shortlist of fullback targets. City consider Udogie to be one of the top young players they have in the squad, among the crucial ones to build a bright future at the club. Negotiations, though, with Daniel Levy are also well known to be very difficult, so Man City are aware of the situation. Do you read anything into that too much, Miles, at this stage in regards to Udogie? Has he done anywhere near enough to be even considered by City from what you've seen?
Well, that's probably why we saw a better performance from him today. He probably saw that this morning and went, okay, I'm gonna give you a performance, Pep. Watch this. Because to be honest, the last few weeks I've been moaning that Udogie's not been up to scratch. He's not performed anything like he did last year before his injury. But tonight I thought he did, and that was the big key thing. And I think Ange mentioned it in his presser where he said that there was more overlapping. He was more inside. He was getting into their box. He was backing up, son. He was getting on the ball, and that's the Udogie we haven't seen. So it was a massive call to drop Spence. But I thought then when Spence came on, I thought Spence played well in the last 10 minutes as well, and I thought Spence did a little bit more than what Udogie did. But it's not to put any harm on what Udogie performed tonight. And I just kind of look at it and go, as long as he can start performing like he did tonight over the next few weeks, it's only going to benefit Tottenham Hotspur. And if he is linked to Manchester City and he ends up going that way, look, we've got covering Spence, and if we need to go out and find another left back, we do. But hopefully, for the next how many games we have left, we're going to see the best of you, doggy. And that could it's only going to benefit Tottenham Hotspur, no one else. Yeah. So I'm looking at going, yeah, that news came out. Was I disappointed when I saw the news this morning? I was like, the way season's gone, probably not. If Manchester City won him, they won him. But if he's going to perform like he did tonight over the next and show me what he can do, then I might go look at the end of the season and go, you know what? I'd rather we kept him. But we'll see. We will see. And but I trust Spence. I trust Spence so much. And if it comes to next week and it's a choice between Spence and Udogie, whichever one he makes, I feel like either one of them will put in a shift and put in a good performance. So it's not like I'm going to be sitting there going saying he got it wrong. And where at the beginning of today's game, I thought he got it wrong, but he taught me a lesson, because we've gone out and seen what Udogie can do, and we've actually seen a performance that actually a lot of Spurs fans have been saying, this is what Udogie can do. Why is he not producing it? And we saw bits of it tonight. So the future's bright. Hopefully for us.
Yeah, I think you make a point there. All you want is any player to come in and justify their selection, and that's exactly what Udogie has done in that game. So he just opened up with you in terms of the game itself. I mean, look, it wouldn't be Spurs if we didn't get off to a, concerning start. I think Miles said actually early in his intro or opening that, we kind of had that Southampton hangover going into the start of the game, and what we haven't got here is the moment where Maddison does give away the ball that leads to that opening goal from Frankfurt. It was a disastrous start. 6 minutes in, Hugo Ekitike hit a low shot in the bottom right-hand corner from the outside box. Maddison lodges in that ball on the transition, which Frankfurt hit Spurs on. I think the concern would be that, you had Porro leaving Ekitike to stroll inside, and no Sabat really came over so easy to help out. He has got 20 goals for the season, so it's a fabulous strike from the forward, but you can argue he was given far, far too much room to score. I suppose the only positive you want to take out of it, Tej, is the way we did bounce back from going behind, because I think you're well aware that given the mood at home right now in the stadium and the way this season has gone, could have easily folded, but I think the team did respond very, very well to going behind, right? But I think we do need to, as we've said a lot through this season, close players down a lot more, right, from stopping goals, scoring opportunities like this, which again is a great strike, but again, could argue could have been defended better.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that, should I even say Ange ball? I mean, who knows? I mean, listen, the way that Tottenham are playing right now, let's just say that. If you turn the ball over, you're going to be exposed, right? And the thing is that no team wants to lose the ball, but every team is going to lose the ball. So when we lost the ball in the second half, you'd have two or three players just go zip like that and absorb the pressure. It would be done. What we suffered from, again, Rick, you and I, mate, have talked about this, just you and I, let alone the show, about how it just takes us so long to start. And again, I've done the Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights reference a million times. I've even said that I'll go in there and give them a motivating speech if needs be. So they come bursting out of the blocks and just foaming at the mouth, champing at the bit, and every other analogy that you could possibly think of. And believe me, I'd give a pretty good hairdryer. And so Maddison loses the ball, but he loses it probably 30, 35 yards from their goal. So there's plenty of time and space for us to collapse and to be compact and all that kind of thing. And again, I'm always the guy, show them away from the goal, and of course, Ekitike, who's a lovely player. I also thought that Nathaniel Brown was a lovely player. That whole left side, Tiate, is that right, Cracks? Is that how you say the left back's name that you helped me out with before? Yeah, Tiate and Nathaniel Brown and Ekitike were really very exciting players. And so show them down the line. Porro just needs to step inside and say, listen, man, if you're going to beat me on the outside and then whip in a ball on your weak foot, great. But what I'm not going to allow you to do is come inside on your strong foot and shoot. But he did, and he shot very well. And it was a beautiful goal, slotted nicely into the corner with plenty of power and venom. So do I blame Maddison for losing the ball up there? I mean, try not to lose the ball, mate, but he's miles from goal. So what he should be doing is running back to get it, but other
Yeah,
players could be doing that too. So again, it just kind of seemed like a little bit of an insouciant kind of labored beginning to the game, which you just don't have time and space for that at this level of the sport. It needs to be played, pedal to the metal from the first second until the last. And so that is something that I would like us to, as a team, address, because that's got nothing to do with ability or technical proficiency or skill. That's just mentality and effort and application. And that's the thing that us fans find terribly frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, if we go on for that moment, obviously Spurs, they do start to come back into the game. We had Sonny getting across in that Solanke, could only head on towards the goalkeeper. You had Johnson head over from a Solanke cross, but the latter was flagged offside. There was a point, actually, before we did score, that if you're watching a lot of that game, Solanke, he does work so hard for the team, quite literally, where there was a point where it's almost like crumbs of service cracks that he's having to work off. And you can see he was starving to death out there at some points with Solanke. Again, it's interesting with Solanke that the mood has seemingly turned. I think the last time he scored for Tottenham was back in January. Yes, obviously, since then he has had an injury as well, which again has made it for him personally a stop-start season. But I think the biggest problem with him is that he is quite literally bidding off scraps. He played quite a pivotal moment and role for Spurs' equaliser. Is the feeling with Solanke, Cracks, that he either needs a partner or he needs more service if we are to see the dominant Solanke that we saw at Bournemouth last season, where he racked up, I think, his best goal-scoring ratio to date? Or, was that a one-off season? Because, again, we've bought him, let's be honest about Solanke, we bought him off a one-off season at Bournemouth where he has racked in, a number of goals in his best ever goal-scoring season. What do you make of it for you, this Solanke debate?
He may have to adapt his game slightly, playing in this current system, Rick, if this system prevails. Next season. If another coach comes in, then we may play in a different way that suits his current game. But as it stands, he may have to just come a little bit deeper and try and do a little bit for himself, almost Harry Kane-esque, if you like, because currently he's just not getting the service that he needs. So it's a tough one, especially with strikers. They have to have that type of service that suits their game, and he's currently not getting that. So, plus he had that injury as well. It's one of those juries out on him things at the moment, but you can't fault his work rate and commitment in the team and what he tries to do. But as for getting goals, then I don't know. I think he's just going to have to adapt slightly, probably come a little bit deeper and try and just do something for himself, almost. Tough one. Tough. He's a bricklayer. He hasn't got any odd carriers at the moment, has he? So as I always say,
he always gives us something, doesn't he, Cracks? I mean, he ran really well, chased down that ball from Sonny, right? Got it turned, picked out Maddison, who provided the goal. He always gives you something. I'm with you, man. I got a lot of time for this lad, and he's just, bless his heart. I mean, he's so frustrated as well. You can see it, and he seems like quite a sweet boy. He's like, when it just doesn't go his way, he's just got his head in his hands. He's not the kind of guy to shout and scream, like Vicario or like Romero or whoever it is. Bless his heart. He's just getting no service at all.
I think the thing is, Cracks, to stick with you for a second, I think the thing is he's not Harry Kane, and there's very few like Harry Kane. The thing with Harry is, when he wasn't getting the service, he would be able to make something out of nothing.
Harry Kane was our best number 4, number 6, number 8, number 9, and number 10. All at the same time. This
is not to do Dom down. The thing is with Dom that he isn't, I don't think, a player that is that kind of player to create something out of nothing. So therefore, as you said, Cracks, he's going to be only as good as the surface he's going to get, right? That's the situation with Dominic Solanke.
Yeah, correct. It's almost as if we've bought him, but then not played to his strengths.
Absolutely,
almost. So it doesn't look a right fit buy, but he has come and given. As I said,
you can't question his work ethic.
No, his work rate and commitment. No, so maybe he just needs to get a little bit greedier, a little bit nastier around the box and go and fetch that ball and try and make something for himself. At the moment, he's a little bit nice Sandy from Greece. He needs to be a little bit more Sandy at the end of Greece, doesn't he? In the black leather trousers and the fag hanging out of her mouth. That's
these references are getting better throughout.
We
You
all know which version we preferred.
yeah, you know that. You know
I was
that.
in that show about 1 million years ago. True story.
Get that in there. Crowbar that in there, Teach. It's still available right now on VHS, DVD, and of course in all your major Blu-ray CD bookstores.
Let me tell you, the only Grease Ricky's thinking about is the one that's got a sunbed and a couple of pina coladas lined up very soon. Isn't that right, Rick?
Absolutely. You're chasing 2 kids around 45-degree heat. What am I worried about? I'll be absolutely fine. Then Marlon can take over with his 4, I tell you. We've got it all planned, me and him, God help us. Marlon, let's come to you. The leaders do produce the leveller for Tottenham. Listen, didn't have to wait too long for it. A lovely, lovely move from Spurs. It involves Solanke and Son combining before Maddison produced a gorgeous turn inside the area, finding Pedro Porro, back-heeled, very, very expertly done. A lovely finish from Pedro Porro, it has to be said. Beautiful, beautiful goal from Tottenham. And I think you'd agree, Miles, probably the timing of the goal, massively important, given the fact that you just had that feeling in the stadium. We needed to get back on terms fairly quickly, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Timing of the goal, what a finish from Porro. It was very Ange-esque in everything that was did. As you can see, the fullback is in the box, where most fullbacks are not. So, yeah, it was brilliant timing. It was probably at the right time where the crowd were going, hold on. You told us to get behind the team. We've been behind the team for how many minutes, and we're 1 goal down already. And the nervousness you could see was starting to kick in. But as soon as it went in, I think you could see the crowd was like, you know what? You guys are turning up. You are playing well. So it was a great finish, great timing, and definitely needed for Porro in his confidence right now, especially now that he's got Spence like creeping up behind him, and he has been dropped for the last couple of games as well. He hasn't been playing. So. We need to see something from him. But no, great goal. Everything. Maddison, even Maddison was involved. Someone's involved. Like some of the big players that you kind of rely, that the fans have felt like have let us down. In that moment, a lot of them were involved in this move, and that's kind of what we're going with. So brilliant goal. Can't complain. Was well happy.
Yeah, just on Porro, Miles, I'll stick with you for a second. I mean, another player that's copped a lot of stick this season. It was a lovely finish. Yeah, I think the general feeling has been that his defending and passing, in that game at times was a little bit, you maybe use the word erratic, but there was quality offered from his set pieces as well. Porro's another one that does divide a lot of opinion. I've said this a lot throughout this season last one on Spurs. I think when you are playing these fullbacks so high up, it takes one ball over the top and they're caught in behind. I generally feel that if you had these fullbacks drop 10 yards back and deeper, they wouldn't be as exposed to what they've been this season. And therefore, I don't think they'd be as criticised as much. I mean, is that your take with Porro? Because I feel he's got so much to offer. It was a great goal. And I'd like to think, Miles, there's so much more from Porro that we haven't quite seen yet in a Spurs shirt. I mean, I wouldn't be writing him off at all. I just think, defensively, with a better structure in there, and I know how many people feel about this as well, these are good players. I still feel they're good players, what we see here.
No, and I've said this about Porro. When he's playing with a Romero, we see less mistakes from him. But once he started playing with Dragoshin and Gray, you kind of saw where his frailties came into play. And we always said he wasn't the best defensively, but when he is playing that high up, you are looking at going, he's going to get caught out of position a lot because he's probably not as fast as what Udogie is. But I think, especially when you look at the first goal tonight, is where you see some of Porro's weaknesses because he doesn't see the danger of what Ekitike is going to produce when he does get it in that left back position. Because I know everyone's sitting there saying Maddison lost it up the pitch, but actually when you look, we had moments to close Ekitike down and get into him. And I think it all started from when that went over to the left-hand side. Porro is way off him. He's nowhere near him. He then tries to leave it to Bergvall and Bentancur to come across. So it's moments like that where you will criticise Porro, but actually he brings us so much going forward that sometimes you go, you know what? I'll take them few mistakes because he's more likely to get 1 or 2 goals when we are going the other way.
I'd actually encourage him to shoot more, Miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a
he's
bit
got
like
an absolute rifle of a right foot.
Yeah.
He scored a couple for us. And then, he's kind of skied a few over the bar recently, because it's been quite such a poor season. And I think he's been jeered. And I just think he's lost a little bit of belief in his ability to score. So I think somebody needs to put an arm around him and just say, listen, mate, keep shooting, man. Like
his delivery's been very good also from set
it
pieces.
has.
He's got
Yeah,
a decent
it
delivery from set
has.
pieces.
And so I mean, a couple of the people, Emily saying perhaps he should be played as a winger, more than a defender. We've talked about that before. Robert saying as well, the difference between him and Spence, and we've talked about this before, is Spence's recovery pace is kind of Van der Ven levels. And so with Porro, I agree with you, Rick. I think he's potentially an exceptional player. I just think he's lost a little bit of belief, like most of the chaps have this season. And so I think he needs a little bit of a cuddle. And you're doing really well for us, mate. You keep shooting, you keep delivering the ball. And if you lose it, don't worry. Romero's going to help you out. He needs a bit of a cuddle, I think.
And he's played a lot of games. So we have to remember that.
Absolutely.
He's played a lot of games compared to the rest of the team.
It does spark an interesting question, Miles, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of people are suggesting that, is it down to the system why we've not seen the best of some of these players? And again, for me, that's why I know Cracks is also nodding there. I think it's no disrespect to Ange. It's not even to be going too deep into this. But again, I'd love to see these players maybe under somebody else to see if they're as bad as what maybe some have suggested. Because I think when I look at a lot of these players, just in my opinion, I think there's a lot of them that have still got a lot to give. And I think, I wouldn't be writing someone like Pedro Porro off right now. I think, look, maybe you need to adapt into a winger.
Porro's he's being asked to be a little bit Arthur Martha, isn't he, in this current system at the moment? So as a wing back, as King Oddle said in the comments there, he'd be fantastic. To get him, push him up a little bit more defensively. He tore us a new one, didn't he? When he played against us, he was sensational. And so you just need him up front. But you're right, he looks like a lad that needs a lot of love. He's got that big family vibe thing going on. You see that interview with him and how his relationship with his grandfather and everything. He's got that real Spanish family vibe thing going on. I'll bring him out to Lanzarote for a week, Rick. I'll take him down to Lineker's bar, a couple of Carling Black Labels, and
you take him down there. You take him down there, we won't see him again.
couple of dishes of tapas that's still winking at you, make him feel like he's back home again. He'll be brand new. Come on.
I thought it was about Jason in Thailand there for a second. He's about things winking at you with regards to what he's been eating over the last month down there. Let's talk about a player that, to be fair, I know a lot of people have seen a lot of love for in these this season in general. I think he's been one of the most shining lights, and that's been Lucas Bergvall. We go into half-time, like I say, 1-1, and to play for. Second half, we come out. We saw that little bit of brilliant skill from Bergvall where he had that, great chance. He evaded two defenders. He then crashed a shot from outside the box onto the post. Would have been a sensational goal. Tej, look, I know you've been a massive fan of Bergvall this season, what he's brought to the team. He was that player that was really trying to keep the tempo up. Again, he made a number of decent interceptions throughout the game, nearly scored a remarkable goal. I think you've got to say, look, probably Spurs' best player on the night. And, if that goal goes in, God, what a night he's got to remember there. The crowd were really, really behind him. And this is such a special kid. And I said it earlier, I've got no reason to doubt that we probably are trying to, even more so now, get a new contract for him, because I think he's exceeded everyone's expectations, the fans, even maybe his own teammates, and certainly the club.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, with regard to his new contract, Cracker's already said it right. I mean, goodness me, his buyout clause is going to have so many zeros on it. It's going to be like one of those checks that, the Reader's Digest people turn up at your front door and have to present you with. I mean, the fact that he even wanted the ball there, watching the game, right? And I'm like, okay, they already know this kid's mustard. He's mustard, so they're looking at him and he's calling for the ball and he's got two central midfielders within about 10 feet of him. And I'm saying, don't give him the ball, right? And he touches it with his left foot so beautifully, I'm going to say Modric-esque, touches it and just turns and taps it away with his right, bob-om, like that. And he's gone. And he's into about 10 or 15 feet of clear space. And I knew he was going to shoot. And I was like, this kid's going to shoot. And he did. And it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is really why they call this the beautiful game. And it flew off his boot. And bless his heart, he was so unfortunate for it to strike the corner of the goal. what an exceptional player. And Rick, over the last few months, and bless your heart, mate, I know this has been so difficult for you personally, running this show this season. And, also as a Tottenham fan, so you're carrying all the disappointment that we're all carrying. And yet you are tasked with trying to produce, this is a live broadcast, gang. It's live, whether you're listening to it or watching it live, it's a live broadcast. And he works tremendously hard to produce a show of real quality under tremendous pressure. And so we've been talking recently about who is going to get us out of our seats. Who is going to be that Tottenham player? And when I was last on and Cracks was listing all these great players that, whether it was Ginola or whether it was Klinsmann or whether it was, whether you like Gaza or, whoever. Well, this is the boy. He's already getting us out of our seats. And my goodness me, what an exceptional talent. 19 years old and full of vim and vinegar as well, for another old-fashioned expression. I'm so delighted that he snubbed Barcelona and chose Tottenham.
Yeah, I'm not sure he is. We are. I'm not sure he is. But no, you make a point there, Tej.
Don't mention too much tapas, Crackers. You might think how old am I?
I was about to tear up there as Tej was just saying that this is a live broadcast. The host is under pressure. He needs a break.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I tell you, it's been one of those seasons, doesn't it? But we had that kind of 4-minute period, Cracks, where Son falls that save from Santos, a flying save. There, Bentancur header against the top of the crossbar from the corner. I mean, it was twice off the bar in 1-minute moments, really. It kind of G'd the players up. You had Madison forcing an effort at the goalkeeper. I don't know if you felt that, when you had those kind of rally of chances there, it's not been a Tottenham side that have created a huge amount in terms of in succession during the season. We needed one of those to go in, didn't we? I mean, I just think in terms of the game and how that was going, one of those goes in, and maybe the floodgates really do open. Here we are sitting about a 3-4-1 scoreline. I mean, those are the differences, as T said earlier. Minor moments in games. If one of those goes in, we're probably talking about a very different game on here and a different podcast to set up for the second leg.
I think this has been the biggest frustration overall per se of the season, Rick, is that you see like that little 5-minute spell there and you see what we are capable of when everybody is towels up and flying and in the zone and in the right sort of headspace. And you look at that and you think to yourself, this I could watch. I can watch this. This is it. This is Tottenham. This is a Tottenham style that I fell in love with as a kid. And you see it, and then all of a sudden, bang, it's gone again. And you turn him back to goal and it just sort of slips off a little bit. It's like Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, isn't it? In Awakenings, all of a sudden, like it's awake and you're like, oh, yeah, boom, gone again. It's like, oh, come on. It really is. It's bring Robin Williams in with his miracle drug again, and just, exactly. Just give us some of that. But a lot of that does at the moment come through Bergvall. And as TJ was saying, he is somebody that looks like he can get you up off of your seat. And for his age, it's not just his footballing ability, it's his football maturity as well. When he makes a mistake, you will see him come even more for the ball. He won't shrink, he won't shy away. He doubles up on what he wants to do, and give me the ball. I want to put right that mistake that I just made. That takes some balls, by the way, at that age to do that. Glenn Hoddle was touching on that this evening on TNT Sports. He was saying, that's the kind of thing you get from a 26, 27-year-old player, not 18, 19. So that maturity in his play is just is fantastic. He's the ceiling for the lad is just like sky's the limit for him, isn't it? He also looks like the type of lad that you wouldn't mind your daughter bringing home either. It's like I've said before, sickening that he's that good looking and that good at football. It really is. Get rid of him. No, he is fantastic. He's lovely to watch, and you just kind of hope that he is still young, but if this trajectory continues and this path that he's on continues, he is some player. He really will be. That's somebody to look to build a team around. He really is.
Yeah, I was also pleased with Bentancur. I know I mentioned him earlier. I know there's been some that have been quite judgmental of him. I know there's, again, that feeling that if, did he deserve, or if he does deserve a new contract, is that right? I mean, we'll have to see. But I think he did mostly very well in terms of the covering for the team and the tackling on the night, where I think, again, with Bentancur, maybe in a different system, there's still a player in there. James Maddison, obviously critical for the fact that he lost the ball in the 6th minute of the game to set Frankfurt away to score. He tested the goalkeeper late on. He came off with 10 minutes to go. He looked quite frustrated, Miles, at coming off with 10 minutes to go. I mean, I know you've actually said a lot of times on this show, there's something there we'll never get to in terms of why Maddison, as a player that's quite influential, normally in games, has got the GA record that he has done, is seemingly one of the first to always come off when the game is firmly poised. We're never going to answer, are we, Miles, really, during this era? We may only find that out once either Maddison or Ange does the part. It's an interesting one. Yeah,
whoever goes first will always find that out. I was quite disappointed when Maddison came off. I thought it was one of the subs he got wrong. I thought Maddison was having an influence. And if you need a goal in that last 10 minutes just to take us into that second leg, it was going to come from Maddison. Especially when you look at how Sunday's game went, and then how you look at and how the game tonight. I thought he was getting on the ball. Yeah, I know he lost it a few times, but he was trying to make things happen.
Yeah,
and I thought
he's a creator. He's a creator. Yeah. I mean, he's a creator.
And I thought the performance from what I saw from Maddison tonight is kind of what we was all kind what we've all been asking for. He tried to take the game by the scruff of the neck and tried to get on the ball, tried to make things happen. Even when it wasn't working, he was still open. He was still trying to do stuff. And I just couldn't, for tonight, I just couldn't. When he came, when I saw his number, I thought, that's a bit odd. I just thought it was just odd at that moment. There was other players that probably could have come off before him. But look, like you said, we're never going to find out what's going on between him and Ange until one of them leaves the club. And then we'll get the full story. But at this present moment, look, Maddison, keep doing what you're doing. If you can play like you did tonight and play like this next week, then we're going to start asking questions of Ange going, why are you taking Maddison off in these vital moments now? Because before, it was justified. But tonight was kind of one of them where you went, And especially with no Kulu at the moment.
Well, that's been the thing. Decky's not going to be around for Wolves, and therefore you imagine Maddison will be rested for Sunday, which is why, again, doesn't really make much sense, that change. But, I mean, look, we may never get to the bottom of that. I mean, I know you said earlier for you, Miles, I think you said Sonny had a fairly okay night. I think, it's hard because Sonny, I think this season in general, look, I think we all love Heung-Min Son. He's a legend of the football club, but hasn't quite hit the levels of what we've expected Sonny to hit this season. You could argue, has it been the fact that, again, he's generally fatigued for the amount of football that he has had, although, again, he's had periods in the season where he hasn't played. There's been questions around the system as to maybe that's the reason why. I mean, these are the nights, correct, isn't it? When you look about Heung-Min Son, club captain, a man that set up for Tottenham on actually quite a number of big occasions in Europe. I think he was massively influential in the game that we had against Frankfurt. If we remember back under Conte, we won the game 3-2. Doesn't look like the same Son does it at the moment. I mean, do you hope we'll just hopefully find his boots in the latter stage of this competition, or dare I say, obviously next week? It doesn't look like the Son we love, and that's a concern, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, he has been off of it, Rick, and he's been off of it for a while. The reasons why, I don't know. I mean, maybe that partnership with Kane has now gone, which means you've lost a little bit of what Sonny was. But conversely, he's a bit like Maddison. Although they can drift out or not be in games, all of a sudden they will give you that one moment, just that little spark, and bang, 88th, 89th minute, and they've won you the game. But I don't know. With Sonny, it's tough. Is there something that's caused this drop off, or is it just an age and fatigue thing? That I don't know. I mean, I see some pictures on the socials earlier this week where before the game he was out doing signings and that for fans that had travelled over, etc., etc. And okay, I get that people come a long way, and they're as welcome to come to games as anybody else is. But it's game day, your head should be in that game, not sort of going out and doing a bit of meet and greets and pressing the flesh and keeping the money machine turning for the club, which is, it's a lot of PR crap, isn't it? And that sort of thing. So I don't know what it is. Perhaps he's just spreading himself a little bit too thin and trying to be a footballer, trying to be some sort of ambassador, and just carrying a lot of sort of weight in that respect. Look, if we was never to see Sonny again in a Spurs shirt, that's some legacy that he's left. He's been an absolutely incredible player, and a real good credit to himself and the club. But I don't know, there's something not quite right off at the moment. However, like tonight, on another night, that one dips in, and then all of a sudden you're like, bang, that's it. Sonny's back. That's what Sonny can give you in that moment. But those moments are becoming more and more fleeting, aren't they? Yeah. So I hope he gets it back. I hope he finds his mojo, and that sort of comes back. Maybe some of the players around him, if there was a little bit more of a pickup from them, a bit like Salah. He's a similar age and a similar space as Salah, but Salah's still tearing it up because he's got a lot of people carrying around him and great players around him as well. So there's probably quite a lot of things feeding into what's going on with Sonny at the moment.
I think it'd be a real shame though if kind of a lot of Tottenham's fans' memories will be this Sonny, not the Sonny that started for Tottenham. And I think that's kind of where, again, there maybe needs to be that uncomfortable conversation that needs to be had in the summer in regards to how that is going to be navigated, because I certainly wouldn't want fans, as I've said, to remember the version of Son that we're seeing now in comparison to the one that started Tottenham and certainly at times was unplayable. And I think we do forget maybe just how important Harry Kane has been for Sonny during that period where there was that kind of telepathic partnership where they knew what each other were going to do at certain points. And there's a reason why they achieved that status of being the best partnership in the Premier League, for knowing where each other were going to be. And look, Spurs made that triple sub, as I mentioned there. They brought Spencer and Tell on. As we mentioned, the doggy just cramp, along with Son and Maddison coming off. Maddison wasn't too happy about coming off. And it's just been one of those seasons, really, that, I know Richarlison came on later on into the game. We had Johnson firing over from Spencer's low cutback. I mean, that's the thing with Johnson, isn't it? I mean, there's been that criticism of Johnson where if he's not scoring, what is he doing? And I think that, again, is a damning indictment where it's almost a carbon copy of the chance that he scored at the weekend. Couldn't replicate it here. And it's just been one of those seasons where right at the end of the game, I mean, look, you'd argue in a different season for Tottenham where things are going right. That last gasp opportunity where Betancourt heads Porro's free kick back across and Van der Ven heads the ball into the ground and the keeper tips it over. On another season, that maybe goes in. But it just feels it's one of those seasons right now where if Tottenham are going to win this competition, it's going to have to be done the hard way. So just to kind of ask you guys a final question to close it on. Have you seen enough in this game to give you the confidence that we can go over there and still go through? Tej, I mean, look, I know you're quite a positive person. You've seen enough to think we can handle the spectacle that will be in Frankfurt. It's going to be loud over there. It's going to be raucous. I mean, we've seen this Tottenham team on a number of occasions this season get overruled away from home. We can't forget Anfield and Villa Park as well. It's another cup game. It's a second leg. How do you see it playing out in that second leg?
I think we're a good enough side to beat them. And we proved that tonight. We were extremely unfortunate. You've just listed a myriad of chances that on any other night, rub of the green and all the rest of it, those end up in the back of the net. And so I've been saying this for a while. We are a good enough team on our day to really perform, and we've shown that.
And we've shown that
even in the Premier League this season, right? So because we all firmly have our eggs in this one Europa or UEFA shaped. Good on you, Daniel. This UEFA Europa shaped basket. Then it's countdown to Thursday, isn't it? And we put ourselves on a plane and we fly over to Germany and we get the job done, and we've proven to ourselves, and they have proven to ourselves, and proven to themselves, and like I said, beyond words, through their actions and deeds tonight, they were better than Frankfurt. And so that's the spine, the core of the speech that I give to those boys. We proved it last week. We are a better side than this lot. When we're playing, when we're, pedal to the metal and we are man to man against these boys, we are better than they are. So go and put them to the sword in their own stadium. And to Cracker's point that he made probably an hour ago now, silence that crowd. Be as fervent and as fanatical as you want, and deal with what am I going to go for? We're going to beat them 2-1, so 3-2 on aggregate. Come on, you Spurs. Lovely to be on the show. If there are this many people watching and listening, please take a second just to hit the like button or the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. Again, Ricky works really hard on this show. Please, please, please take a millisecond to hit the like and subscribe button. Love to you all. I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Siege, you're a superstar. Miles, do you share CJ's hope and thoughts there and belief that second leg we can go over there and do the job? It's not be easy, is it? It won't be easy.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's going to be an easy. We're going to walk there and we can easily walk through the Frankfurt crowd. I know what Spurs are like. However, I have seen enough tonight, and I've seen enough in this European campaign to say that we can go there and do something. I don't know what that is, but I'm not looking at the league form and when it comes to everything that's happened this season. Look, we lost to Galatasaray, like I said earlier. That was down to how many changes he made, and it was a young team that went out there, and it was only 3-2. That's what we have to remember, it was only 3-2. And then you're looking at Bergval's own goal against Alkmaar, which again wasn't the best performance, but we didn't get completely, our backs weren't against the wall. So Spurs have got to do something. Frankfurt have got to do something too. They can't sit there and play the way they played tonight. What I'm really hoping for is the exact way we played against Manchester City away from home. I'm looking for the exact sort of performance like that, because Frankfurt can play that way. They do like to have the ball, and they completely changed it up. I know a manager changes it up for the opposition. It can be done, people. But no, looking in all seriousness, I'm just looking for that sort of performance when we go to Frankfurt next week. And hopefully, look, they've done it before. They can do it again. But I'm positive. I'm looking at it, and I'm going to be positive with it. And it's, look, I'll be honest. Ask me on Monday after we've played Wolves and what sort of performance we put in, and then we'll see where I'm going with it. But as for tonight, they've shown me enough for next week. But I might have a different on Sunday. Might be completely different.
I might have to ask you on Sunday. Miles, thank you very much. I mean, like I say, I know Cracks, a lot of fans were kind of pinning their hopes in regards to these two legs to come our way. I know. Again, it was billed as D-Day and the crescendo of the season, and I mean, look, we all know it's been a tricky season. Again, it's that situation where we know it all rests in 6 days, 7 days time, how this season does go. And I think, all of us, for what we've been through this season, we love it to see us actually go to a difficult environment, like you discussed at the start of the show, see us put a performance in and go through to the next round, right? Because once you reach the semi-final stage, I think you said it earlier in the show, you've seen the likes of Lazio, of course, get beaten by Bodo Glimt in the first leg. I mean, the competition is there for anyone to take. It just feels that if we can put a decent performance in the second leg, anything's still possible, right?
Absolutely, it is. And we have to believe that it is as well. So, as I said earlier, we just need to be positive around this. Not much that I've agreed with Ange down the weeks and months with things that he said, but this, what he said about positivity and talking Spurs up, we need to do that for next Thursday. We have to go with some belief as fans, as a club, and the players. They need to turn up, Rick. They need to be nice and solid and compact to start with as well. In the transitions, they look gettable tonight. They really did. When we put it on them, they did look a little bit shaky, and we have got the personnel to be able to do it. So, those players have to fancy themselves next week. They have to be having themselves a little bit and believe that they can do it. And then find those moments. When those moments come, and they will come, because Frankfurt will come at us. They're at home, and they'll obviously want to win the game like we will, but they'll probably dictate the play. So can we get the turnover and then go and punish them in the transition?
Yeah.
It's doable. It is doable. We just have to believe it's doable and then see where that takes us. So I'm very, very hopeful. It's going to be tough, very tough, but doable. It is doable. To dare is to do, Rick.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see him doing some daring and doing, wouldn't it? I mean, I know like for Tottenham, it was never going to be easy. Never going to be easy over 2 legs to navigate this. So let's hope they do. Mickey van der Ven said, if you see what we showed in relation to this game and how we dominated, we have the confidence to go there and win there. So let's hope Mickey is right. Let's hope we can do it. I want to say a massive thank you to this wonderful panel where, again, we roll around. It all comes back down to 6 days' time where that crescendo will meet. And hopefully Spurs will advance to the next round. I want to say a massive thank you, Tej. Thank you so much for putting Tej back on the Sun Lounger. He's coming back with us very, very soon. So Miles at the Spurs Kings. Miles, thank you so much. We'll see you Sunday. We'll see Cracks Sunday as well. But it does feel, I know for many out there, that the Sunday game running into Thursday, it's a non-event. But look, as we've said, we want to see Spurs now keep hopefully going on a winning run. Tej said about mentality. Can this team find mentality at the right time of the season? Let's hope so. Guys, thank you so much for your support as always for the show. Keep liking, keep subscribing. We have been the last one on Spurs. From us all, keep safe, keep well, keep the faith. And as always, come on, you Spurs.